Cool. Yep.
Hello, everyone. It's Tabitha Fro.
Hey, and it's your girl Britt back one more time.
Y'all, Britt and I are having a serious conversation today after
hmm
watching a Tyree Nichols video. Typically, I have actually stopped watching videos like this only
hmm
because they make me so upset, and I don't like to get to that point in my life where I feel like my emotions are really under attack. But so much happening. I don't like to feed bad stuff in all the time.
hmm
This one, I've been going through this journey of Seek with Alfred Street Baptist Church in Washington, Virginia area. And on the prayer call, the pastor made a special prayer for the Nichols family. And he mentioned that he actually got off of fasting. He's doing a fast from internet and television. He got off his fast because he knew that this video was coming out.
hmm
So after the prayer call, I said, well, let me go over here and take a look at it because he was so disturbed. I said, let me see what's happening. I went to look at the video and I shared with Britt and I immediately called my mother. I was in deep tears for 30 minutes. I was crying so hard, it felt like my child. I think the thing that made me cry so hard is just hearing him call out for his mother. And as a mother, I could only imagine what would make him do that. You are a grown 20 something year old and you know instinctively in your gut that a mama can make everything all right. So because of that, it made me just it threw me into something. So the
hmm
scripture that we are going to share before we get started with the podcast is this. It's from Hebrews 10:24 and 25. It says, let us think of ways to motivate one another to acts of love and good works. And let us not neglect our meeting together, as some people do, but encourage one another, especially now that the day of his return is drawing near. We have had a theme all January of being kind, and this is no different. I don't care who you are. If you're wearing a uniform and you're supposed to protect and serve, I think that number one, you should see yourself in your community and be kind. What you got, Britt?
Whew. A lot to unpack, but I didn't watch the video. I'll start there. I rarely do. I don't watch them, only to keep my own peace inside, and I just don't want to see things that are going to be etched in my mind. I didn't even watch Floyd. I didn't watch that. I just couldn't. I didn't even want to hear the audio. So that just goes to say, like, what solutions do we have at this point? Because that's kind of where my mind is. It's the insensitivity it has caused with us being used to seeing these videos, used to seeing these things. Now, I do feel like, yes, they need to be seen because we need to know what's actually happening at these scenes. So people and officers can't, automatically say, well, I fear for my life or anything like this. But what solutions do we have? Because I feel like the cop community, the government, the local, justice system, they're obviously not listening to the community. They're not listening to us as people, the people that they're supposed to be serving, mind you, to relook at or re-examine how are you bringing these people in? Are you giving them any type of psychological tests or evaluations as they come in? I don't understand how so many officers get into the job in the field only to go out and just aimlessly kill people, because that's what they're doing. And some of them, not all, let me preface it with that. I know it's not all cops. However, we know the bad seeds and the bad apples spoil for everybody. So at this point, we don't know who to trust. So my whole come from is, what solutions do we have at this point? And I can definitely understand the subtle the subtle unjust and unrest is starting to cause in the communities. You don't want people out here protesting. You don't want people out here tearing stuff up, which, we should be tearing up buildings, but you don't want us attacking back. So what do we do? What do we do? It's like, I'm tired of having a conversation myself at this point, and I'm not saying to go out and do anything crazy. I'm not going to, but it's just like, what do we do at this point? What solution? Mhm.
We had a conversation, you and I, about hearing some people that I know who are Caucasian saying that they can't believe that Black men were listening to this man talk about our women like they were of no value. They mean nothing to them. So we go right into another conversation while I was discussing that with you, saying that this is, I believe, this is me, a trick of the enemy, because they have already made you believe that Black men have no value. So, what better way to listen to all of these things than your own say that you have no value? So,
Mhm.
when you take a person who already, in the eyes of society, and they think that this person has no value, doesn't matter whether they see the video, they see these people doing these actions. The number one thing you always hear folks say is, well, why did he run? First of all, in his mind, I know how this is going to end.
It's a high probability most times that it's going to end in a certain way where I might be
Might not
hurt,
come out on the
killed.
other side of this. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a high probability.
Disturbingly, my mother told me after she had to call and check on me an hour later to make sure I was okay,
Hmm.
she ended up telling me that he was not far from his home.
Hmm.
So he's calling out mama, and she's just 80 yards away from him. This is happening to her child on the street that she lives. She's driving up and down it all day, every day.
Hmm.
So, what do you do? I have my pastor, Dr. Joseph L. Williams, has a program that he was offering to police departments to talk to them about how they racial profile Blacks and the situations, and try to get them to understand what is happening to our community. I don't think it should be a one-time psych evaluation. That's just me.
No,
You have to
continue.
take into account that these police officers are seeing, just like you don't want to watch a video, they're
Hmm.
seeing real live things happen every single day. Folks are getting shot. Folks are lying down on the ground dead, desensitized to everything that's going on around them. So that's why
Yeah.
they call it the blue wall, because in essence, they're to themselves now because they believe that nobody understands them but them.
Hmm.
But don't bring that to me. Don't bring that to my son. Don't bring that to my daughter.
And, a part of the evaluation and a part of the training, a part of getting them prepared to go out into society, because before you become a police officer what kind of crazy stuff is happening out here. There's a high chance you can walk into all types of situations. However, how are you guys assessing the situation before it takes place? Because I think you mentioned to me also that when they went back and reviewed all the video, allegedly thus far, that there was no reason for them to even be pulling this young man over or approaching him. However, it happened. Again, I haven't seen the video. But how are you assessing the situation? Are you already coming into it upset, angry because something else has happened? Are you already coming into it with a certain mind frame about how you should treat the person that you're about to, pull over or approach? Like, assessments as you come into it, like you said, periodic psych evaluations. Um, and then there's the talk about, the type of people that are, being hired as police officers. Like, I think we talked about we've heard where a lot of these people, well, not a lot of them, some of them are like old school jocks or people who may have been bullied and picked on back in the day. Like, where are you pulling in this type of energy, this type of go into it ready to kill vibe? Like, is that what they're teaching? Like, I really would love to know what they're teaching and how they're training these officers. That's why people are upset about new facilities being built. You know what I'm saying? Here in
Yes.
Georgia
Right.
specifically, because what training for what? Why are you spending money doing this if they're just going to continue to underserve the community, some of them, by
Hmm.
not coming at it, the situation the right way?
Yeah. It brings to mind, the saying that says, the quote, that's why people are outraged. That's why people are upset. When the George Floyd incident happened, you had so many people on my neighborhood chat, because my neighborhood is now being gentrified,
Mm-hmm.
saying all kinds of stuff about, you know, well, don't call the police when something happens in your neighborhood, and you have a problem, whatever. And most black folks was on there saying, yeah, I won't call them because could be a possibility that something's going to happen to me. So then they take this argument of defunding the police. And I think that they took that to like another level, because no matter how much you try to explain to people that we are not saying we want to take monies away from police officers, we want to provide better training. Maybe a counselor should ride along with them. Maybe this should happen, maybe that. So defunding means put more monies into having them go for counseling, having them mandatory go to counseling. Every
Mm-hmm.
quarter, you have to sit through some type of training that tells you this is what you should not be doing. Because let's just go here, Britt. This is what upsets me more. Is had that young man been Caucasian, it would have been no way in all hell that this circumstance would have gone down like that.
It
None.
rarely happens. I'm not saying it don't happen at all, but from what the propaganda or whatever we're showed repeatedly, it's rarely ever people of other descents.
And what I'm saying is that these are black cops. They wouldn't have treated him like that had he been Caucasian. Let's just go there. You feel emboldened to do that to your own people, your own folks. We have friends in our family that are police officers. And my brother told me once he was sitting around listening to one of his good friends who was a police officer and another one of that guy's friends. And they were laughing and joking about what they did to somebody after they caught them because they made them run. And in his brain, he's like, y'all, that ain't funny. That's not
Right.
that's not funny. Because I know y'all, but if I get pulled over by a cop who's not one of y'all, if something happens, this is the mentality that you guys have, that you're willing to do this to somebody because they made you whatever. I'm upset. I saw in the video pepper spray happen. So they were trying
Mm-hmm.
to pepper spray him and tase him. What is wrong?
Yeah, that's the other part to it too is, getting a badge to represent the community, to serve the community, to protect the community to the best of your ability, might I add. Um, it doesn't give you it's I think, like I said yesterday, it's almost like they take on this new power. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? Like, you're not God. You don't get to
Right.
decide in most situations who gets to live and who gets to die. Now, I understand, I overstand. You never know, again, what type of situation you're walking into, even for a simple pullover or traffic stop.
Mm-hmm.
But again, how do y'all assess the situation when you pull up? And then it's so many working parts, because even sometimes when I'm riding by certain parts, certain traffic stops, and I see like 12 police pulled up. Is that necessary? You know what I'm saying? All the time. I know maybe sometimes depending on what's going on, but sometimes just a simple pullover, y'all calling 12 people for backup. I just, again, I just can't wrap my mind around it. I am not a police officer, so I can't speak from their thought process, but I do know for sure that there are some people out here who just take the law into their own hands and decide that they get to do what they want. And that's because they get backed up most times too by their, the precinct, by their other officers, by their supervisors. The justice system continuously backs up this behavior. Yes. And it says to us, to the community, it's almost like it is a F y'all and a kick in the face. And we don't know who to trust. That's the problem too. We don't know if to trust the nice officers or the bad apples. We don't know who you are pulling up on us either.
Right.
So what do we do with that?
I have a what y'all out here doing moment, Britt. Kobe, my youngest baby boy. One night he couldn't get a hold of me or Christy. He was working right over by the airport. And since he couldn't get a hold of us and he couldn't get a hold of Shammy when he got off work, he started walking home. And as he was, I just sat up in the bed at probably like 3:00 in the morning. I just had a bad feeling going on. And the first thing I looked at was my phone. And he had called me several times and couldn't reach me. And then left me a voice message saying that he was walking home. So I started getting in touch with him or whatever. He made it home okay. But in my mind, for that brief second, I started thinking about all the things that he could encounter while he was on that long journey from out by the airport going over to Lakewood. And the one that frightened me the most was that a police officer would see him walking at night trying to get home from work with a backpack on his back and pull up to him. And what if he didn't say the right thing to him? And just
or
like
made
that,
a sudden move by just turning around to see what's up.
Scared me the most. It scared me more than him encountering somebody on the street, just a regular old person without a badge and that thought scared me the most.
That's where the problem is. We should not fear police officers more than the next person on the street walking next to us. That's a problem.
Should be a comfort.
It should be a comfort, correct. And I think when people try to throw out the idea of us continuously as Black people expressing our gripes about certain things, people don't understand of other cultures and ethnicities. As Black women, especially, sending our husbands out, sending our children out, we never know. That's almost like a built-in box in our mind, like we gotta not be worried every single day, but be concerned, be hopeful that they don't get pulled over, be hopeful they don't get in situations where the police have to be called.
Right? Better pray the blood of Jesus over them.
I'm trying to tell you. So those are the types of things we think about, often. And of course, we don't want to call it in and bring that energy in, but we have to be logical and look at the world we really live in. Brothers, uncles, fathers, everybody. And now our girls too, but that's a whole other conversation. So anyway, not to take away, but yeah, man.
Thank everyone for joining us.
Thank y'all.
I know it's a summertime, but keep praying. Keep praying. Keep being kind.
And keep speaking up and speaking out.
Yes. Till next time. Bye.
Have a good one.